Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to King Mumu Talks. Now, I'm going to jump right into it, but what I want to tell you is today I'm going to tackle multiple topics, but I'm going to have multiple episodes because this is something where I'm going to do specific topics. If you're interested, you just tune into those. But I'm going to jump right into it because right now I feel it's very important that we have a voice and we actually speak our thoughts that we're having, because not every black person just wants to stand and protest and yell about equality. We actually have roadmaps and ways that we think will be a great way to follow to get to equality. So the first thing I want to do is break it down all the way. I want you to climb the ladder down, to climb the ladder back up, so you understand my mentality and where I'm coming from, right? First thing I would start with would be genetically, right? Genetically, black people, anything you touch, if I impregnate any woman of any race or any color, the baby will come out black, right? So you look at the culture that we live in right now. We've been integrated for almost about 60 something years, or 60 years, almost 60 years now. So we've been integrated. You see so many mixed couples, everybody's mixing in and bunching, but we've still been 13% for the same amount of years, the same 60 years, even 80 years, we've been 13%. So you have to ask yourself, that's being controlled, because if it was just left to be, I would spread like wildfire. But since I'm being controlled, how am I being controlled? I'm being controlled by the prison system. I'm being controlled by how I'm viewed, my depiction in the public. I'm also being controlled by my food, my health, my so forth. And that's a whole nother subject that I'm going to jump into deeper in another podcast. But right now, understand that you're being controlled, so you're at 13%. So if you're being controlled, you're at 13%. Anything you touch moves. You're very valuable, because you're somebody people are concentrating their time and putting a lot of time into somebody that's only 13% in this nation that's built off of so many different cultures, right? So you have to go back and look at back in the day how this nation was actually built. In a time and day when it was labor, right? To leave Europe and leave your comforts of Europe. I'm talking weather-wise. I'm talking about geographically wise. To leave the comforts and come to another land and build a dominant society in another land, you would need a genetics who can survive in that land no matter what. So that's when the black people came in the hand. Slavery was like the biggest thing in America. We all know the products of slavery, and we all know the disasters of slavery as well, right? So slavery, in my mind, ended before slavery ended, when the cotton gin was invented, when it became economically, pretty much it wasn't worth it to have black people anymore. It was more expensive to have a black person than to have a cotton gin, and you could do a lot more. And black people were actually tired. They were rioting at that point. So it was just a headache to have a black person over a cotton gin, as sad as that may sound, right? So black people were set off to Liberia, where I'm from, right? But majority of black people didn't want to leave at that time because we were so glued to this American society that we've been conformed to from all of the cultures that we've came from before. So now you have when slaves were free. When slaves were free, it was the biggest time in America, but it was one of the poorest times in America too, because they like to make it seem like we destroyed each other in the country, and North versus South destroyed each other, but that was not the case. Free labor was over. No more free labor. How you gonna get your labor? You have to enslave black people over again. So what happened? False contracts. You saw sharecropping. You saw different ways that black people were getting locked back into contracts and slavery that really wasn't slavery, but the same thing as slavery, right? And some black people felt comfortable to go back into that because that's all that they knew. And that's how they were going to prosper in this new society of being free. They were chased, they were mobbed. It was one of the darkest times. And economically, it wasn't that prospering for America as well. America went through 3 wars till it reached the 50s, right? So it was so much chaos. There was no distraction from what's really going on in the world. What's really going on? What's really happening day to day? Everybody was involved in politics. Everybody was involved in everything, so everybody had opinions. That's when people were really living in a real democracy. People were voting because they were involved. It wasn't just a whole bunch of campaigns thrown at you differently, right? So here comes the distraction. Now for black people, we have to find a way to monetize in this society. I bet you it was probably somebody singing behind the shed one time. Somebody heard him and said, "Oh wow, like I need this." Because at the end of the day, we've been singing and dancing in our culture forever, but we didn't realize how much money can be made off of all three: acting, playing along, just us being our natural self, full of rhythm and rhyme, right? So when the 1920s happened and we shown that, we shown our cars, we shown how beautiful it could be, you saw what happened. They might hate your skin, they might hate you, but they know you can make money. So you've already shown two ways you're making money to build another dominant society. So what happens? Buy up everything first and then introduce it to you later, right? So as time goes by, your music is being mimicked, your sports is being mimicked to a point where they copy the whole entire league, just absorb it, and now look at sports now. So I always say there's a wealth that comes with black people, and we don't get to see it because the world has never been paused. So this is the first time with the coronavirus, the world is paused. We're all sitting down and we're viewing it just like people were viewing things in the 1900s when there was no major distractions. So when you take a look at entertainment right now, right? They started out with black faces. They try to emulate you that way. That didn't work. They brought you in. That started working. You got too big. They changed your face. Look at Michael Jackson. We just found out Beethoven walked around with white face. So you could tell me Michael Jackson, that wasn't the same case? I was born in Liberia. I was in Africa when I was 5, going through a war with no radio, no TV, and I still knew everything about Michael Jackson. Okay? At some point with no internet in the world, he was as popular, not as powerful, as popular as Jesus. People fainting at his shows, doing all these things. The world knew him. You could be in Madagascar off a boat somewhere and you knew who Michael Jackson was, and you knew exactly what he looked like, and you knew his nose was fake. Point blank, period. Right? So understand the power that you have, right? So now we live in a society where we never get to see it. We've never had a break. We never looked back at it. And we just came off of the last 30 years. The last 30 or 40 years has been the most prosperous 40 years in American history in these last decades, and this last century, simply because of a few characters out of millions of people that were properly marketed, right? Michael Jordan was the first big market. I'm talking, there were superstars before Michael. Wilt Chamberlain was a superstar. Do not get me wrong. Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50 in a racist society without cameras, and they still told the world that Wilt Chamberlain averaged 50. That's how good he was. And I'm not taking nothing from Wilt, but Michael Jordan was the first one. They said, all right, we're gonna market this dude the right way, and they marketed Jordan, and Jordan's logo and shoes were so remarkable. People fell in love with it. People kept buying it over and over and over and over. And in his theme song, just imagine like the ice cream man driving down, was if I could be like Mike, like Mike. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? It's just, if I could be like Mike. And every kid would be dribbling the ball in the yard, like, if I could be like Mike, like Mike, like Mike, if I could be like, and you would just like shoot the fade away. You would think you're Michael Jordan, like, and then you look at all the players, you judge them off of Michael Jordan, like, Kobe's not no Michael, he ain't do it like this. And then LeBron came, and it was like everybody's trying to be like Michael the whole time. And the whole time you realize that 25, 30 years just went by and you didn't grow, right? So